to Poole. Poole gets it off in time.
In today's video, I will be discussing whether or not the Golden State Warriors can win back-to-back championships. But before we start, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Without further ado, let's get started. After defeating the Boston Celtics, the Golden State Warriors have now won 4 NBA titles in the last 8 years. But with injured stars now returning back to their lineups, will the Warriors still be favored to win it all? First, we have to discuss why they were so successful and how they can use those same strategies to increase their title chances for this season. As usual, the Warriors' success started and ended on the defensive end, with Draymond Green being the orchestrator of that department. Before his injury, Green had the highest defensive rating in the NBA. He was also ranked number 1 in defensive box plus-minus. His impact on the defense is undeniable, and the stats prove the Warriors were much better with him on the court than off the court. Andrew Wiggins and Gary Payton II made the Warriors' defense a nightmare to go against. Wiggins could defend 3 to 4 positions at an elite level, while 6'3" Payton could do exactly the same. Wiggins played aggressive but disciplined defense all season long, and without a doubt was one of the league's top defenders. The same could be said for Payton also. He was a pest and had incredible instincts that allowed him to get easy steals and deflections whenever he was on the floor. Warrior center Kevon Looney proved to be a pretty good defender as well. He played with high intensity and challenged anyone at the rim no matter the player. Stephen Curry was also a big factor in their great defensive play. Also, he was no longer the defensive liability he once was in previous years. Curry was as disruptive with his hands as I've ever seen him. He rarely was disengaged and was always looking to poke the ball free or get a passing lane steal. On-ball defense is where he showed his most improvement. He no longer chose to stay hidden from crafty guards, but instead took on the challenge. While he isn't a great defender by any means, he is now more than capable of putting together multiple stops. Offensively, the Warriors continued to be hard to stop. They were ranked 7th in three-point shooting, 5th in assists, and 9th in field goal percentage. While Curry had a down year numbers-wise, he still managed to average 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists per game. He shot a career-low 38% from 3, but let's be honest, that's still pretty great. Andrew Wiggins was not only a great defender for the Warriors, but he also averaged 17 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists while shooting 39% from 3, and 46% from the field. He excelled at creating space off the ball and making himself available for his teammates to see. Jordan Poole had a great season offensively. He averaged 18 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists while shooting 36% from 3 and 92% from the foul line. Although his shot selection is questionable at times, there is no doubt in his ability to create and make tough shots. In the playoffs, he increased both his three-point shooting and field goal shooting percentage and added to the Warriors' explosive offense. Both Wiggins and Poole played important roles within the Warriors' offense. They were able to make Curry's life much easier. Not only could they make open shots, but they were just as good at creating their own shots. After Klay Thompson came back from injury, he struggled to adjust to the pace of the game, which was expected due to the extended period of time he was out due to injury. Although he wasn't the same player as before, he still averaged 20 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists while shooting 38% from 3 and 90% from the foul line. Thompson's most notable drop-off in production was on the defensive end. Once upon a time, he was one of the best defensive stoppers in the NBA. Don't get me wrong, he's still a good player, but he's far from the best. Draymond Green didn't shoot the ball well from the 3 or free throw line, but he did lead his team in assists. Green has led and directed the Warriors' offense for nearly a decade, and it will be that way for a long time. Green is only 32 years old and still has a lot left in his tank. Now, let's talk about this year's offseason for the Warriors. Gary Payton II left the Warriors in free agency and signed a 3-year, $28 million deal with the Portland Trail Blazers. This was a huge loss for the Warriors. Not only was he a top defender, but he shot 36% from 3, making him a dangerous two-way threat. If I was a Warriors fan, I wouldn't be too upset with his departure. Back in July, they signed Dante DiVincenzo to a 2-year, $9 million deal. He was brought in to replace Payton, and they both have similar playing styles. On the defensive end, Dante is a fierce competitor and has amazing anticipation. He is extremely quick and can stay in front of any guard in the league on any given night. In his last season with the Milwaukee Bucks, he shot 38% from 3 on 5 attempts per game. He's a great off-ball cutter who has a good feel for the game and will fit perfectly within the Warriors system. Warriors also lost Otto Porter Jr., who averaged 8 points, 5 rebounds while shooting 38% from 3 and 80% from the free throw. Porter Jr. was a valuable bench piece who could shoot and defend pretty well. Overall, the Warriors' offseason was pretty underwhelming to say the least. Many hope the Warriors' new rookies Patrick Baldwin Jr. and Ryan Rollins can make the mediocre offseason worth it. Patrick Baldwin Jr. was drafted 28th overall in the first round. He averaged 12 points, 5 rebounds while shooting 26% from the 3 and 74% from the free throw line. Yeah, they aren't the most impressive numbers, but when watching him play, you can definitely see the potential upside. He's 6'9" with a nice looking jump shot, and he showed the ability to hit spot up, pull up, and step back jumpers. While I don't see him getting much playing time, he's still a player to look out for. Ryan Rollins averaged 19 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists while playing for Toledo College. He's a natural scorer with decent athleticism and footwork. Although he will likely spend time in the G League, I wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors gave him an opportunity to shine early in the season. Now, it's time to discuss the biggest obstacles the Warriors will have to face in order to fight their way back to the top. The Los Angeles Clippers are expected to have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George back 100% healthy for this upcoming season. Without their stars, the Clippers were still able to compete in the Western Conference. They had finished off the season 8th in the conference with a 42-40 record. They also ranked 3rd in three-point percentage and 8th in defensive rating. They have the perfect roster to complement Leonard and Norman Powell. Marcus Morris, Robert Covington, and others will make the Clippers a very dangerous threat to the Warriors. The next biggest threat are the Memphis Grizzlies, led by Ja Morant. In last year's playoffs, the Warriors barely defeated them in a close series. It's important to point out that Ja Morant was forced to sit out 3 games with a bone bruise. He was averaging 38 points per game before the injury, so many believe the outcome of the series would have been different if he wasn't sidelined. The Grizzlies had one of the best defenses in the entire league and even led the league in blocks and steals per game. Not to mention they have one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA in Desmond Bane. Jaren Jackson Jr. proved himself to be one of the best rim protectors in the NBA, blocking over 2 shots per game and anchoring the Grizzlies' defense. Jackson also shot well over 80% from the free throw line, while steadily improving his shooting range. Their new additions, Kennedy Chandler and veteran two-way player Danny Green, also make them a tad bit better than last season. All in all, a healthy Grizzlies team will be a tough matchup for any team. The Phoenix Suns had a terrible end to their great season. They were defeated by Luka and the Dallas Mavericks in Game 7 of last year's playoffs. But this doesn't change the fact that they're still a really good team. Suns star Devin Booker is steadily improving year after year and has already proved himself to be one of the best scorers in today's game. He averaged 26 points per game while shooting 38% from 3 and 88% from the free throw line. The 25-year-old even showed improvement on the defensive end, which is a huge step forward. Although Chris Paul is getting older in age, he will still be able to dish out assists at an elite level, averaging nearly 11 assists per game last season. You can't mention the Suns without mentioning the Warden, aka Mikal Bridges. Bridges has established himself as one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. He was even a runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year. While his offensive game is finally coming together, he makes the Suns a pretty big threat on both sides of the basketball. While there was a lot of drama surrounding the Suns center DeAndre Ayton, he now seems to be fully committed to them and vice versa. Now, sure, teams like the New Orleans Pelicans, Dallas Mavericks, and Denver Nuggets will be some of the best teams in the conference, especially with Jamal Murray coming back for the Nuggets, and Williamson expected to come back for the Pelicans. But they don't match up well versus the Warriors, especially in the playoffs. Healthy or not, the Warriors will be challenged by numerous teams for their spot on the top. And with opposing teams getting stronger in the offseason, the Warriors will have to make frequent adjustments to keep up. But this brings us back to the original question: can the Warriors win back-to-back championships? My answer is yes. But for all the reasons I mentioned, it won't be easy. But anything is possible when you have Curry, Thompson, and Green on your roster. They're all nearing the end of their prime, but they don't show any sign of slowing down anytime soon. Did you enjoy the video? If so, hit the like button and subscribe to NBA Swish for more amazing content exactly like this. Hope to see you in the next one.